Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Shai, Ba'Shem Rakar Kudash. Double honors unto the elder apostles, the great most honorable well. And Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is Paya Allah. And this is Esther, the 5th chapter. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. Right. So this is after the days of fasting that was Esther spoke of in the chapter prior, in the hopes that going before the king without being called before him, as she hadn't been called before him for a month, that she should, have good favor in the eyes of the Lord, in the eyes of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, Ba'Shem Rakar Kudash, that the king won't put her to death, all right? Because if you don't hold, it's going to go into it. If you don't hold out the scepter, basically you'll be, put to death. But showing you that, she could have been proud and just said, oh, I can just walk up in there. But it was a serious thing that she was doing, all right? And upon the words of her uncle, Mordecai, basically she was told that, it'd be best for you to try and make a way for your people, your kindred, the kingdom of Judah, Judah, Benjamin, Levi in captivity that time under the Medo-Persian Empire, that she should, look at it as though she's been put in that position for the benefit of the kingdom or the children of Israel. Otherwise, if she holds her peace at this moment, that the Most High can find another way, and then she gets swept away with the other way the Heavenly Father presents. All right, so that's why she did what she did. So it says, and it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom. All right. So it's a great show of faith that she did. All right. And even in the fact that he held out the scepter, he said he's prepared to give her half of the kingdom. All right. That's how of a great extension that, could be extended onto her. And this is funny because you'd have some unfaithful would have said, oh, she could have gone up in there any time then and just gone before the king and asked for like half the kingdom, Eddie, why you treat me like animal? Half. All right, she could have moved like that. But even as we're going to read on, you're going to see that this woman had a great level of humility, all right, in order to do the things that she was going to do. And it's all by the orchestration of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Shai, Ba'Shem Rakar Kudash, through His Spirit, that these things were so. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be given thee to half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. All right. So basically, this was a request. She didn't ask for half. She basically said that she just wanted him to entertain her at a banquet alongside Haman. All right. Let's read on. So it says, then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared, and the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request, even to the half of the kingdom? It shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, that the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said. Right, so she basically said through the Spirit, she could have said it in that moment, all right? The king, Xerxes, what did he say? said she can get up to half the kingdom. He's more than, she said, bring Haman, entertain me to my banquet. Said, yeah, come. Then I'll come along, sent for Haman. Then he still asked, what do you want? And then she went on further to say these things that were said, all right? So really showing you that the king was, in the hand of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem El Shai Bashem El Kodash, to do favorably onto what Esther requests. All right, and as we're going to read on, you're going to see more and more that this is, the movement, the angels in the background moving pieces on the chessboard to basically the point of checkmate. All right, for the judgment of the Heavenly Father to spring forth. Okay, so verse 9 it says, then went Haman forth that day joyfully and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. All right. So these are the things that are heavy. This is like instrumental in the delay of these things being done. All right, because this is just conjuring up more indignation within Haman against Mordecai. So much so for him to perform building the gallows in hopes of slewing Mordecai. Here it is, you've been brought to, you have specifically been chosen, you're flying up through the ranks, getting this, that, all these different things. But it's one individual is rubbing you the wrong way, and it's offsetting all the things that you've done. And it's basically tricked him out of put him in a trick bag. And it's through the spirit because Haman was Edom. Alright, and we know about the spirit of Esau and Jacob. Basically, it's set one against another. Alright? And as it tells you in the book of Proverbs, the righteous are abomination unto the wicked. Alright? So this is what we're seeing playing out. So reading on it says, verse 10, nevertheless Haman refrained himself, and when he came home he sent and called his friends, and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches, and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come into the king, with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared by myself, and tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Right. So all of this blessings, this abundance that he had, the one thing that was offsetting to him was the fact that Mordecai didn't didn't tremble in fear, wasn't scared of him. All right. And this is really what's going to make him become unstuck and undone in his position that he has. And even, it was meant to be, it would have been said through, at this moment prior. But this is the reason why it's not been said. Verse 14, then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet, and the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Right. So this is the things that you put in rules that have been put in motion. Okay. So with that, I pray you edify to the next one. Say shalom, shalom.